Ministry of Utmost Happiness by Arundhati Roy. This novel is a critique of injustice and conflict between societies people. So let's start. This is table of content which we will discuss in detail, and this introduction of the author. So Arundhati Roy, born on 24 November 1961 in Shillong, Meghalaya. Her father Rajiv Roy, a Bengali tea plantation manager, and her mother Mary Roy, Malayali Syrian Christian women's right activist. Uh, Arundhati Roy's parents separated early, raised mainly by her mother in I am Menon, Kerala. Her early life, she had a difficult childhood marked by poverty and social insecurity. Grew up questioning on patriarchy, caste, and social injustice, influenced by her mother's activism. Her education, she studied at Corpus Christi School, Kottayam, later joined the School of Planning and Architecture SPA in Delhi. Training as an architect through she did not pursue architect as a long term in her career. Then she worked briefly as an architect in Delhi. Turned to writing for films and television. Wrote the screenplay for the film in which Annie gives it those ones in 1989, which won a national award. Then her literary breakthrough, published her first novel as we know, The God of Small Thing, 1997, won the main Booker Prize the same year, became an international literary figure overnight. Her themes in writing explore caste system, forbidden love, gender oppression, childhood trauma, and social inequality. Uses non-linear narrative and rich poetic languages. Arundhati Roy's main works, fiction like The God of Small Thing and The Ministry of Utmost Happiness, and her non-fiction essays, The Algebra of Infinite Justice, Power Politics, The Cost of Living, War Talk, Listening to Grasshoppers, Broken Republic, Capitalism, A Ghost Story, and Azadi, Freedom, Fascism, and Fiction. Uh, Her major awards and honors, she gets a main Booker Prize 1997 for her first fiction novel, The God of Small Thing, then National Award for a Screenplay, in which Annie gives it those ones in 1989, and Sydney Peace Prize 2004, Lennon Cultural Freedom Prize 2002, and Sahitya Academy Award 2006. This is she declined. And here the key facts about the novel. Full title: The Minister of Utmost Happiness. Year of publication 2017, and publisher Hamish Hamilton. Then genre of novel, a contemporary political novel, written in 2002. And this all details of this novel. And here historical and cultural context of the novel. The novel is influenced by modern India's social and political issue over the last 2 decades, including corruption, inequality, and state violence. It reflects the struggle of marginalized community such as Hijras, transgender people, Dalit, Muslim, and minorities, giving them a voice in literature. Then the Kashmir conflict is a major backdrop, showing the impact of militarization on civilians and the human cost of war. The story also highlights the communal violence and religious intolerance, including indirect reference to riots like the Gujarat riots, showing how ordinary people suffer. Themes of caste and gender reveal systematic oppression, social exclusion, and struggle for identity and dignity. Overall, the novel celebrates India's diversity while criticizing its inequality, encouraging pluralistic and inclusive vision of the nation. And here is my learning outcome. I understand the lives of marginalized people like Hijra, Dalits, and minority and their struggle in society. This learn how social, political, and religious issue affect individual and communities in India. Recognizes the importance of empathy, dignity, and resistance in the face of injustice. See how personal story connected with larger history, helping to understand the country's diversity and inequality. So, for further information, I would like to invite Sanket Vavadia. So,
Thank you, Divya, for providing background. Uh, Today I'm dealing with the topic narrative pattern of the novel. So, in the novel, The Ministry of Utmost Happiness, this novel divided in two parts. First part is, or we can say that it divided in a two dystopian hells. First half and second half. First half is about the Anjum's life story, and second half is about Tillo's life story. Uh, and and also she uses the third person omniscient view in the first part of the novel, and in the second part she uses the first person narrative of Biplav Das. And Arundhati Roy also used the variety of format techniques in this novel, such as epistolary, a stream of consciousness, pamphlets, news articles, hospital records, photographs, and poems, and fragmented structure. So this novel set in a fragmented structure, and she deliberately used this fragmented structure and used a uh, uh, variety of narrative formats through convey that reality cannot show the single historical documents, and the novel fragmented narrative reflects it is like a shattered story, and that cannot be told through a single voice of linear structure. And fragmentation allows to give a equal voice to the equal rise to character across the caste, gender, religious, and classes. Third one is a Jannat guest house become a fragmented yet inclusive space, describing as a gathering of everybody and nobody, reflecting narrative multiplicity. So here, the in the fragmented structure, she uses the Jannat as a gathering, like they everybody are gathering, and it is set as a fragmented structure. And the novel structure parallels like a kintsugi, blinds broken, a social fragmented into a meaningful wall. So here the kintsugi means it is a broken piece and a fixing use of the golden dust. So in the fragmented structure in the novel, we can see there are lots of fragmented uh, elements, and she uses through various narrative patterns. Here also we can see the intertextuality in this novel. Here I put some work. First one is Nizam's Hikmets on the matters of Romeo and Juliet, Pablo's Neruda's The Book of the Question, James Bond's The Fire Next Time, Agatha Shahid Ali's poetry, Muharram in Sringar from the country without a post office, then Nadedahas Mandelam's Hope Against Hope, then Jean Genet's Our Lady of the Flowers, uh, Creole English. So in the novel, she also uses the Creole English that reflect the linguistic identity of marginalized community, or we can say that oppressed people of that time. And the creolized English reflect the speaker's Adivasi background. So in the novel, we can see some pronunciation word or some words through can we can say that she also uses the Adivasi background. And one of the article I found that she uses this deliberately use this word to show the place and show their lifestyle of their oppressed and marginalized people, or particularly place of Kerala. Creole English highlight the class, education, and social difference in language uses. And she also highlights the regional language variety through the accent and pronunciation. Here I put one example. So she uses Creole English and their people pronouncing words like Z as a S. So Z as a S. So in a pronunciation word like zip, so they pronounce as a sip. So that reflect the phonological influence of Kerala region. So this is of Creole English. Uh, neo Neologism in Ministry of Utmost Happiness. So neolo neologisms means the like a new word and use as a new existing word. So first word is a stupidification. So in the novel, we can see this word as a noun, but noun transform into a verb, and it is a new term coined by Arundhati Roy, and it serves the critique. The stupidification serves as a critique of modern social and intellectual degradation. And another word is Google. So now the people are searching for information and using the search engine Google. So they are searching Google, searching information using Google search engine, but they are pronouncing I googled them. So it is also one of example of neologism. So and it show the contemporary uses of affect the grammatical classes reshape the grammatical, and it is my learning outcome. So I understood the multi-perspective narration and how it is divided into novel into dystopian helps. And I also l- learned the narrative formats like a letter, news article, poems, photographs, and stream of consciousness. And recognize some neologisms like stupidification, Googled, etc. And I understood the how Creole English reflect the marginalized identity and regional speech pattern. So thank you. This is from my side. Now I would like to invite Krishna Baraya.
So, hello everyone. If we see moving further, characters of novel. Here we can see characters of the novel. More, if we see more content, first we focus on major content, major character. First, Anjum is uh, Anjum is a central character, and Mulakat Ali and Janara Begum is parents. Uh, then uh, uh, then Zainab, she is one girl who bring Anjum one time bring Zainab from step of Jama Masjid. Then Saddam Hussein, his real name was Dayachand. So Zainab and Saddam Hussein, he's both a couple. Then one separate character is described, Dr. Azad Bhartiya. He's a protester, live near Jantar Mantar. Then other character is Tilotama. His short name is Tilo. So three other character is connected with her. First Musa, Biplav, and then Nagraj. So Musa is a one Kashmiri man who one time Tilotama in this novel he described as a architecture student. So Musa is a classmate of Tilo and his boyfriend also. Then Biplav. So Tilo living. Tilo is a live in Biplav's home as a in rent. So Biplav also secretly loved to Tilotama, and then Nagraj. Tilo Nagraj is a journalist, and Tilo love marriage to Nagraj, and after some time it's also leave. Then if we see Musa, so Musa has a one wife. Her name is Arifa, and he have one daughter which name is Zabin. So see in the detail of these characters. So first Anjum. Anjum is a central character who born intersex, and raised as a Muslim hijra. So live in Khwabga, later established Jannat Guest House. Jannat Guest House is the we can say established in Kabristan. And then survivor of the Gujarat communal massacre. Then a central figure who connect marginalized identities. Then symbol of survival, resistance, and chosen family. Then second is a Tilotama, as I mentioned, is a he described as a Tilo. She is an architecture student with an independent, detached nature. Emotionally connected to Musa and politically aware. Moves between love, state power, and resistance represent intertextual dissent and moral complexity. Then third is Musa Yeshwi. He's a Kashmiri youth after Kashmir youth after he turned militant. Then lives a civilian life to fight for Azadi. Then lover of Tilo, husband of Arifa. He represent trauma, resistance, and loss in Kashmir. Then Saddam Hussein, his name is Dayachand. He's describe a Dalit youth whose father is murdered by police. So Saddam also want to take a revenge from police because police killed his father. Renames himself after Saddam Hussein as an actor of defiance. So one time he was an actor, and after he change own self. Then lives by doing a multiple odd jobs. His character represents caste oppression and the search for justice. Then Mulakat Ali, uh, as I mentioned, sir, he is a father of Aftab, Hakim, and also poetry lover. Except Aftab with compassion, because we all know that Aftab is one hijra. So Mulakat Ali is also accept with compassion to her. Represents a gentle masculinity and culture memory. Then Janara Begum, he is mother of Aftab, uh, but devoted mother of Aftab. Then continues maternal care despite social separation. The symbol of unconditional love and emotional endurance. Then Zenab, abandoned child adopted by Anjum. As I mentioned that one time she Anjum was take from step of Jama Masjid. She grows into a fashion designer and marries with Saddam Hussein. She represents the symbol of rebirth, hope, and chosen kindship. Then Dr. Azad Bhartiya, long-term protester at Jantar Mantar, and then publishes news and views newsletter. He ignored by the state and media, and which represent the failures of democratic protest. Then Comrade Revthi, uh, she is a Maoist revolutionary, brutally turned and raped by police. Then mother of Miss Jabin the second. Then a symbol of gendered violence and silence dissent. Then Nagraj, he's an actor. One time he was actor, and that time after some time he turned into a journalist. He marries to Tilo, but after he we can say leave to her. His character represent media ambition and political opportunism. Then Kulsumbi, Ustad of Khwabga, maintained a strict discipline. And then he show a hierarchy among the marginalized. Then Saida, younger successor to Kulsumbi, represent the generational continuity. Then Ahlam Baji, midwife who delivers Aftab. He later loses mental own clarity. Then here she represent a symbol of feeding traditional knowledge. Then Ustad Hamid Khan, he one music teachers of Aftab. So sometime due to social ridicule, he leave over art. And he describe a symbol of artistic suppression. Then Imam, a blind Imam and spiritual guide, represent the human faith and inner vision. Then Zakir Man, of we can say a flower business owner, support to Anjum materially. And then Begum Renata Mumtaz, She's a we can say a Romanian belly dancer, burned in Jannat. We can say burned in Jannat guest house when he died. When she died. So. And he she represent a symbol of displacement and hybrid identity. Then Begum Arifa Yashvi, wife of Musa Yashvi, represent the civilian suffering in conflict zones. So many characters in this novel, but we focus on only major character. So here is my learning outcomes. I understand that how Arundhati Roy uses characters to represent marginalized identities, including gender minorities, Dalits, then religious minorities, and political dissenters. Then analyze that major characters such as Anjum, Tilotama, Musa, and Biplav to explore themes of gender, resistance, state power, and moral conflict. Then recognize that the significance of minor characters and symbolic space like the Jannat guest house in expanding the novel's social and political critique. And then apply basic feminist, post-colonial, and subaltern perspectives to characters analysis in contemporary Indian English fiction. So this is from my side. Now I would like to invite Ruthvi Pal for further information.
Hello everyone. I'm going to deal with plot summary of the novel. There are 12 chapters in the novel, and here is I put image overview of the plot of the novel. First one is the chapter number one. Is the way do all birds go to die? In this first chapter, the novel opens with Anjum living alone in a graveyard behind a government hospital in Delhi. She lay quietly enduring daily insult and stone throwing without reacting, and her life follows a natural rhythm and marked by birds, beds, and at dawn and dusk, crowds replacing them. The neighborhood stopped harassing her after Jainuddin, a blind farmer imam of the Fatehpur Masjid, being visited her, and Anjum recalled a man who once explained her name using English love stories like Leila Majnu and Romeo Juliet. She rejects fixed identity and renames herself Anjuman, meaning a gathering of everyone and everything. A tense conversation with the Imam about burial rituals expose religion's prejudice, and Anjum respond with a philosophical question about color, blindness, and God's arrangement. The chapters end with her asking a central question: where do all birds go to die? And the significance of the chapter is that introduce Anjum as a figure of endurance and spiritual resistance, established a graveyard as a space alternative belonging, and raises themes of exclusion, faith, and identity. And this chapter main character is the Anjum, and the primary setting of the chapter is a graveyard behind a government hospital in Delhi, which is surrounded by graves, discard setting, and empty liquor bottles and flying folks. And chapter 2 names is Khwabga. This chapter traces Anjum's life story beginning as Aftab and born in intersects in Old Delhi. Her mother, Jahanara Begum, is traumatized and seeks spiritual solace at Hazrat Sharmat Shahid Shrine. Aftab is built for femininity, but shows exceptional talent in classical music. He is drawn to the Hijra household called Fabga, the House of Dream, led by the Ustaz Khalsum B. Puberty Aftab's boy become unbearable to him. He permanently joins the Fabza and become Anjum. Anjum become Delhi's most famous Hijra and undergoes the gender affirmity surgery, and she adopt and abandoned girl, Zainab, fulfilling her desire for motherhood. During a
scream, Anjum survived the 2002 Gujarat riots, witnessing a brutal anti-Muslim violence, and traumatized the returns change, paranoid, and eventually leaves the Khwabga. She settled in the graveyard and began building a Jannat guest house, a refuge for outcasts, and she is joined by Saddam Hussein, a Dalit man seeking justice for his father lynching. And the significance of the chapter is the established identity as a lived experience, not biology, links personal trauma to the national violence, and introduce the chosen family and counters community. And the primary location of this chapter is Old Delhi, Chitli Kabur, and Hazrat Shahmad Shahid Dargah, and Jama Masjid, and the Khwabga, and also Gujarat. And these are the list of the main character which are introduced in this chapter. And chapter number third is the nativity. The chapter is set during the turbulent summer in Delhi, marked by the demolitions and protests. Jantar Mantar become a crowd space for competing political demonstration. Media celebrated Gandhian hunger strike over Down's quieter protest by the farmer and victims. Anjum arrived with Saddam Hussein and other hijras to observe and help. The naked newborn baby girls is discovered abandoned on the pavement with on notes, and protests argue about calling the police. And Anjub insists the baby is a gift from the gods and offer to take responsibility. And confirmation break out between Anjum and bureaucratic activist Mr. Agrawal, and police carry out lathi charge. Several people are arrested, and this chaos, the baby disappeared. And this chapter introduced the central mystery of the baby and the critic media driven activism, and shows Anjum stepping into public political space. And the location is Delhi and Jantar Mantar, and these are the list of characters. And chapter number 4, Dr. Azad Bharatiya. The chapter focus on Dr. Azad Bharati, a permanent protester at Jantar Mantar, and he claimed to be an endless hunger strike against the capitalism, imperialism, and state violence. His protest materials document global and local injustice, and his plaster cast bear the signature of marginalized victim. He recalls seeing the abandoned baby after the police crackdown, and he cryptically mentioned that the baby had three mothers. Police interrogate and assault him. A formal kidnapping case is registered regarding the missing baby boy. This chapter presents the protest as a both resistance and spectacle, and highlight the state surveillance and repression, and depends on the mystery of the babies. And the chapter number 5, the slow goose chase. Saddam Hussein and Ishrat follow an auto rickshaw through Delhi at night. Their journey moves from the allied government's area into working class neighborhood. The auto rickshaw stop at the residential house with a lavender gate. A woman disappears at the window holding the missing baby. She is revealed to be as Tilotama, and Saddam leaves a Jannat house guest house card in her letterbox. The baby is shown to be safe, and the chapter resolves the memory of the baby's disappearance, introduce Tilotama as a key in the connecting figure, and map class division within the city. And the primary location of this chapter is Delhi government district, flyovers, hospital, outstreak, and the main character are Saddam Hussein, Ishrat the Beautiful, and Estel Otama. And chapter number 6, some question for the letter. This short chapter imagines the abandoned baby in the future. She is pictured as a schoolgirl waiting for ice cream on afternoon. The narrator asks whether she will remember smells, landscape, or violence from the infancy. The chapter raises question about bodily memory and forgotten trauma, and it chapter act as a reflective pause in the narrative and explore the memory, forgotten, and
inherited violence. And chapter number 7, the landlord. The chapter is narrated by Biplab Dasgupta, an intelligent bureau officer. He break into his Tenat and Tilottama's abandoned apartment. Inside, the discover an archive documenting human rights absence in Kashmir. He recalled his past relationship with Tilottama, Musa, and Nagaraj. And Musa became a militant and was killed by the Indian army. Nagaraj compromised his ideas and collaborated with the state. Biplab recalls Tilottama's detention and torture in Kashmir, and Anjum and Saddam arrived to collect baby's item. And Biplab realized Tilottama's involvement in the larger moral struggle. Chapter number 8, the Tenat. The narrative shift to Tilottoma's perspective. She lives in hiding with the baby now named Miss Jebin the second, and the chapter reflect on her grief for an earlier child, Miss Jebin the first. Tilottoma's isolation and resolve as a caretaker and empathize. And this chapter explores the motherhood as a responsibility rather than patient depends the name theme of private resistance. And the primary setting of the chapter is the Delhi, a bare rented room, oppressive summer heat, dust, and dining balloons. Chapter number 9, the ultimately death of Miss Chabin the first. The chapter reveals the story of Miss Chabin the first. She was a child killed during the political violence. Her death shapes Tilottama's choice and emotional life, and highlight the children as the most vulnerable victim of the conflict, and reinforce the cyclical pattern of the loss. And the chapter number 10, the Ministry of Utmost Happiness. The narrative return to the Jannat guest house. The graveyard become a thriving multi-faith, multi-case community. Outcasts, activists, and survivors gather and coexist. And the idea of the symbolic Ministry of Happiness emerge. And this chapter present an alternative model of society and reclaim happiness as a collective survival. And the chapter number 11, the landlord. Biplab reflect further on his life and moral failures. His emotional and the professional decline continues, and the damage caused by the state completely become the irreversible. And chapter 12, Kyon, the novel ends with without neat resolution. Life continue in fragile imperfect coexistence, and the community at Jannat Guest House endure. And this novel, there are many historical or real world event are also mentioned, like 2002 Gujarat riots and Bhopal gas tragedy in 1984, Kashmir insurgency in 19th onward, and AFSPA in Manipur, which means Armed Force and Special Act Power Acts, and demolition of slum in Delhi, cow vigilance, violence, and media spectacle of anti-corporation movements, and also the fake encounter by Indian Army, and US asylum claim by Indian officer. And my learning outcome is, in my view, the novel helped me to connect literature with today's political, social, and communal realities, showing that its issue are still relevant. I was able to relate scenes from the novel to film, media image, and real life event, which deepened my understanding of its themes. And the language and imagery of the novel remind me of the past historical event, proving that words can carry memory and trauma. And the novel changed the way I read the news and public event, making me more aware of the power, silence, and marginalization. And overall, I learned that literature is a living text that continues to interact with the present and shape our understanding of the world. Thank you. This is from my side. Now I would like to invite Sataksh.
everyone. Today I deal with the themes of utmost happiness. First is the nature of paradise. Arundhati Roy connects the happiness with the idea of the paradise found in the religions like the Islam and Christianity, but instead of the pleasing paradise after the death, and the brings into everyday life through the protest of a Jantar Mantar, and the novels show people dreaming of a fair and the peaceful society. Here, happiness is the not individual; it's a collective based on equality of a coexistence and the share. The next is the importance of ambiguity and the diversity. Arundhati Roy's show ambiguity through the internal divisions within countries movements and the individuals. This is a clearly seen in the Anjuma's experience as a hijra, although the medical and the hormonal changes after her body and the voice, they cannot fully resolve her emotional conflict. Here a change the voice represents her ongoing the struggle with identity. Next is the cost of a modernization. The Ministry of the Utmost Happiness. The modernization is the not progress but the destructions. Royce criticize Indians the neoliberal dreams of the becoming a global superpower will the ignoring the lives of the poor indigenous communities and the minorities. Urban developments displace the people, destroy nature and the prompts sameness, and against this is the Jannat guest house represent a space of the resistance and where humanities matter more than profit. Fourth, corruption, political violence, and the capitalism. Critiques the post-colonial Indian politics by showing how corruption affect the ordinary people through the Kashmir conflict. She reveals how the army politicals and journalists, militants and the businessmen. Millennials and businessmen all the platform profit from the violence. Royce does not the support any sides. Instead, this expose the capitalism as the system that keeps the political violence alive. Fifth, gender identity, social division, and coexistence. How Roy's show how the gender identity becomes a source of a social division through the Anjumas and the Hijra community. She challenged the fixed idea of the gender. These divisions are the by the caste, religion, and the class. Yet, through the Jannat guest house, Roy the imagines a space where people live together with a dignity, suggesting and the gender diversity is a key to a more human society. And sixth, religion and power. Roy's show how the religion is often used to gain and the maintain power. Religious identities that create the division and justify the violence, especially in the nationalist politics and the Kashmir conflict. However, Royce also suggests that truly faith is the personal and companion, not the political or oppressive. These are my learning outcomes. Understand the major political, social, and cultural themes in the Ministry of the Utmost Happiness. Analyze how Arundhati Roy's critiques the post-colonial Indian politics, capitalism, and modernization. Examine the represents of the gender identity, marginalization, and inclusive coexistence. Evaluate the role of the religion and power in shaping social and political conflict. Interpret how corruption, violence, and capitalism interest in the Kashmir conflict. Inspire the novels emphasize of the ambiguity, diversity, resilience, and the hope, and the develop critical thinking skill through the literary and social political analysis. So this is from my side. Further information by Krishna.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm going to deal with article which are related to this novel, The Ministry of Utmost Happiness. Okay, so this article deal with the multi-dimensional analysis of identity, home, and resilience in Arundhati Roy's The Ministry of Utmost Happiness. So here we find the struggle for intersex Hijra identity. That Anjum experienced systematic humiliation due to the biological sex ambiguity within a society governed by rigid gender binaries. That how society, or here we find political marginalization. So political marginalization also we find that government not able to take it to give a advantage to a third gender, and many a time we find that third gender marginalized by society, by government, by judiciary inclusion, etc. So here one original line from a novel say, he is a she, he is a not a he or a she. So that kind of word they the Hijra community heard from their birth itself. So this is words by her mother itself. Then reconfiguring a home and space. So how we find the idea of home in this novel? So we find the second unit is a Khwab in the novel. So Khwab to the graveyard. So Anjum leave the Khwab to establish a hybrid home in a deserted graveyard, rejecting normative space of belonging and counter a space for resistance. So creating a home in a commentary enable Anjum to overcome social otherness and assert agentic belonging. So when she create her own space, at that time she find otherness from social, but in itself she is creating a home for itself. And critical insight that making a home in the city graveyard mark a watershed in the Hijra community struggle for a permanent foothold in society. That not specifically men or women are able to make a space for them, but Hijra community also can struggle, and they can also choose a permanent space in society. So the Jannat guest house become a refuge for those expelled from traditional Hijra Gharanas, transforming exclusion into community. Then bioregional cosmopolitanism and transeology. So when we find human non-human interdependence, so the graveyard function as a non-anthropocentric bioregional where human and non-human coexist ethically rather than hierarchically. So graveyard is the one place where the women, men and women, men and transgender, women and transgender, or are equally treated rather than hierarchically. In the transeological living, so she lived in the graveyard like a tree at dawn. She saw the crown off and welcomed the beds home. So it is, I think, the starting line of the novel. For example, the Jainam and Saddam turned the graveyard into a Noah's ark of injured animal, sheltering cows, birds, and abandoned creature, symbolizing ecologically care and shared vulnerability. Then mother warrior and queer mother. So whenever we thought about the motherhood, we imagined the women as a mother. But here we find the queer motherhood, that one transgender can also become a mother. So queer motherhood operates as a resistance against heteropatriarchy, state surveillance, and biological determinism. Alternative kingship, and Anjum and Tilo reconfigure adult child relationship beyond legal and patriarchal norm. The mother in the novel are indeed warrior, but not in the same way as prized by a Western feminist. For example, Tilo adopt Uday, Sabine, born of sexual violence, while Anjum adopt Zainab, redefining motherhood as an ethical responsibility rather than biology. So somehow they adopt orphan child. So orphan child also the legal child of someone. So they they were not take care of their children. But here the character like Anjum, she ethically responsible for their child. Then the alchemy of happiness. So spiritual resilience, we find that drawing on Al-Ghazali, happiness is theorized as a transcendental knowledge rather than material fulfillment. He who knows God even in this world, well as it were in a paradise. So for example, Anjum experienced a direct line to God even through mundane media such as a mobile video of rooster uttering Ya Allah, illustrating happiness as an everyday spiritual endurance. And critically, we find that happiness become a political mode of survival rather than escapism. Then trauma and storytelling. So as I mentioned earlier, that as a being a third gender or intersex, there is no space for their identity and ability. So we find they have to struggle for a survival. So storytelling function as a painkiller that mitigates psyche suffering and restore social bond. Atrocity, however, refused to be buried. Anjum's trauma resurfaced through recurring image of saffron parakeets, symbolizing the Hindu nationalist mob she witnessed during communal violence. Fragmented narration preserve collective memory erased by official history. Then we find a biopolitics and a homo sacer. So we find a bare life, that how marginalized character inhabit the status of homo sacer live, including in law only through exclusion. So bare life get further degraded through economic means, limited work opportunity, exploitation and discriminatory hiring practice. So we find nowadays that not that much of employees or in business or in study, we find the third gender as a opportunity. They have a limited work opportunity, also exploitation they face, and discriminatory hiring practice. Then critical observation, we find if at a time it is messy and unwieldy and hard to control. This chaos mirrored the identity of India itself. This is my learning outcome. So through this novel, I learned to evaluate the role of care motherhood and care ethic as a form of resistance against patriarchy, state violence and biological determinism. So as I mentioned earlier, whenever we think about the motherhood, so first idea in our mind comes, that is the mother should be a woman. But here we find the true motherhood and motherhood's responsibility that by one transgender person. So here we find the another imagination of motherhood, that only women are not a mother, but transgender also become a mother. Then the novel taught me to rethink happiness. It is not a comfort, success or escape, but the ability to continue caring, believing and living ethically even in a broken world. So here escape is an important word, because the many parents, that orphan child, they adopt, so their parents escape from the responsibility. But here we find the new happiness in taking care of another person like them. So they are not escaping, but they are accept their identity and living ethically even in a broken world. Another thing I learned, that spaces rejected by society often hold the most humanity. So we find many examples like that some kind of people or some kind of person society not accept, but at some level we find if they are rejected by society, after that they make their own pace and try and struggle more for their identity. So it become a positive point for them. And I also learned that a story does not always need to be smooth or complete to be meaningful. The broken and shattered thought and feeling helped me understand that the real life, especially in time of violence and injustice, is also messy and unfinished. So, what as a person we find in movie or in novel, we find at the last page we want some happy ending, that how two-person meet and they happily married or happily uh, live with their family. But it is okay if there is a not a happy ending, because always this thing not happen. So through this novel I learned that it is okay to be unfinished or shattered or injustice, because not in everyone's life we find a happy ending. So this is from my side. Thank you everyone. I would like to invite Bhargav Makwana for further information.
So hello everyone. I am taking the first article, which is the political outer tones and illusion. The novel function as a political novel using illusions as a safer corner that allows Roy to critique modern India without risking directly legal consequences. It addresses the 1975 emergency, widely regarded as one of the darkest period in Indian history, focusing on the suspension of civil rights and forced sterilization over 6 million men. Critics identify allusion to 1984 Bhopal gas tragedy, noting that Roy compares the absence of justice for its victims with global responses to the 9/11 attack. The 2010 Gujarat riots are represented through Anjum's survival as she learns the Gayatri Mantra and passes as a Hindu to escape a violent mob. Contemporary political figures are sterilized in the novel. Narendra Modi is portrayed as Lala, the beloved Manmohan Singh as a trapped rabbit manipulated by Sonia Gandhi, and Anna Hazare as Tubby old Gandhian. The text also foregrounds the rise of Hindu nationalism and phenomenon of cow vigilation, with a specific reference to Unna incident where Dalits were publicly flogged for skinning a dead cow. So here we can find some textual evidence, which is it is represented in 1975 emergency period. Then the Gujarat right also is represented, where chanting like Musalman ka ek hi sthan, uh, Kabristan ya Pakistan, that also we can notice here. Then the satire on national leaders, like I have just said that Narendra Modi is called as Lalla in this. Then the second is post magic, the female nextly. So the contemporary female nextly is described as a post magic, marking a shift from 1967 movements, magic movements of a revolutionary hope, a current reality of despair and fertility. For the character of Revelti, uh, taking up arms in not a path to political power, but a desperate choice of how to die with dignity in the face of state and patriarchal violence. Revelti's narrative subverts the romanticized mother warrior trope. Her pregnancy is the result of a police trap, and she initially feels hatred for her child, Udian Ziban. This article argues that the characters lived in that world where they are reduced to bare life, making the act of fighting an individual rather than from a social transformation. There is a Revelsi is right in her letter, like I cannot go on hunger strike and make request in the forest every day. Police is burning, killing, raping poor people. Outside there is you people to fight and take up issues, but inside there is only us. So I am returned to Dandakaranya to live and die by my own gun. subverting the mother warrior image. Instead of romanticizing the warriors, Revati admits her pregnancy is a result from a police rape and that when her baby was born, she said that I frankly felt hatred for her and I thought to kill her. I felt really she was not mine, even putting a gun on the infant's head. The impasses of revolution. She notes that even within her own party, gender inequalities persist. A party says men and women are equal, but still they never understand. Then precarious dunias and ruined worlds. Roy specializes patriarchy, pet, precarity by setting the story in ruined worlds, graveyards, urban canyons, and beside the city of Srinagar. Srinagar is mapped as a city of funerals where the death become a permanent infrastructure and the only time the city truly comes alive. The Jannat guest house in the Delhi graveyard function as a structure point where the surplus and unwanted build communities and practice repair and care amid dereliction. The novel employs a broken world thinking to show that life and death are pawns, enabling a sustainable interconnectedness between human and more than human world, which is animal spirit and environment. Here are its references, graveyard, and that all. Then the creativity of precarity. Uh, Precarity is presented as a form of defined creativity for India. Others, which are transsexuals, Dalit, and the poor, rather than merely a condition of vulnerability. The precarities retains a toehold in society by seizing the prerogative of a choice, opting alternative modes of living, new family structures over mainstream security. Anjum embodies a self precaritization, a form of voluntary homelessness that substitute a different set of belongingness for the safety of status quo. The author's question that Roy's celebration of this creativity prakriti is risk rendering the brutalization of the poor aesthetically appealing through the novel, counters this by foregrounding the slow violence of destitution. Then an ocean of language. The novel is written in English but imagined in several languages, creating a multilingual ecosystem of official language fish and unofficial dialect mollusk. English function as a double-edged sword. It is the killer language of the global capitalism and exclusion, yet also meditator that enables interaction among the Indian vernaculars. Roy seeks to provincialize English, transferring into a small localized idiom that absorbs the rhythms and syntax of Hindi and Urdu. Urdu signifies the Mughal history and Islamic civilization, which the novel attempts to reclaim from the ghettoization under Hindu nationalism. We can see that it has a Hindi poem which is Mar Gaye Bulbul Khwaf Mein. That is a poem which is given there, and then Zahra Begum's dilemma is summarized by the question: was it possible to live outside the language because the word hijra and the kinnar were insufficient to make a whole language for her child? Then weaponized language and sectarian dominance. Language is used to tool for humiliation. During 2002 in Gujarat riots, like there were Hindi slogans like Bharat Mata Ki Jai, Vande Mataram. The saffron-clad mobs used to rhyming slogan Musalman ka ek hi stan, Kabristan ya Pakistan, and the poet prime minister uses the rhyming cadence of a Hindu to issue a threat: Kashmir mangonge, cheer denge, and that type of slogan were used here. Then Arundhati Roy in the politics of language, including vernacular words, it is a strategic act of speaking multilingual truth to monolingual power. Deloitte to challenge the sectarian dominance. Characters are defined by their linguistic flexibility. The protagonist, Tilo, is an enthusiastic polyglot, reflecting her freedom from rigid sectarian categories, the Kashmir English alphabet in the novel satirically exposes the realities of military occupation, linking the letter Q directly to Quran and questioning. Language is weaponized for humiliation. Anjum is forced to chant the Hindu slogans like Bharat Mata Ki Jai by the same mobs that murder her companion. And here are my learning outcome. I understood how personal lives in the novel are inseparable from the national history and the political violence. Then I understand that discomfort is an important part of serious reading. Then this presentation or this novel forced me to sit with the lives which I usually do not have to face. I learned that I have often look hope too quickly because hope feels safer than honesty. This novel forced me to accept that some wounds are not healed, only carried. So, in conclusion, the Ministry of Utmost Happiness shows that the true happiness is not comfort but survival with dignity. Through the marginalized life and broken stories, Arundhati Roy exposes the violence, exclusion, and the power while imagining hope through care and coexistence. The novel ends by reminding us that even in ruin, humanity can endure and create meaning. And here are references. Thank you.